Hello everyone, Ryan here. So, punk rock book tag, created by Dane Reads. He tagged me quite a while ago, and took me a while to get around to it, and because I mean, hey, you know, what's more punk rock than not doing something? Yeah, or maybe that's more nihilistic, or yeah, I don't know. But in any case, I just, you know, I wasn't able to get around to it earlier, and then I was trying to work out different ways. Like, I wanted to do something cool because I mean, like, Dane, he dressed in punk attire, and I wanted to do something similar, but I don't have access to any kind of punk attire. And then I actually went to a local thrift shop, and yeah, they were all out of anything that could even remotely pass as punk attire. So anyways, I'll get right into it here. Oh, and by the way, I remember I think, because I had mentioned to Dane that way before I became a metalhead, before I got into heavy metal, I consider myself to be somewhat of a punk. Like, I went through a punk phase, and I wore secondhand tattered clothes, and I had short hair, like a very slight mohawk. I didn't have like any of those like huge mohawks, and some of my friends in high school had those huge mohawks, and unfortunately, you know, they were always told by a teacher or someone, or a principal, they were always told that they had to comb their hair down and get rid of the mohawk, and because of the frickin' dress code bullshit. And I tried to find some old pictures of myself when I was in my punk phase, and I really couldn't find any. It was, I mean, back then I really didn't care that much about taking pictures of anything, or, you know, because I mean, you know, the days before the internet, way before social media, I mean, I never really paid much attention to sharing anything with people. I mean, I never really cared about sharing much with people, so yeah, anyways. First question is, God Save the Queen, of course, by the Sex Pistols. Name a book with a queen who ain't no human being. And for this, you know, I gotta say, down with the monarchy. No, that's not a title of a book. It's because, you know, honestly, I try to think of something for this. I've never read anything that had anything to do with a queen, human or otherwise. So, yeah, down with the monarchy. Number 2, Pretty Vacant, also by the Sex Pistols. Name a book with a character who's pretty vacant. For this one, I went with Lenny Small from Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. So, yeah. In fact, recently I saw Dane's review of this, and it reminded me of how much I really liked Of Mice and Men. I read it, like, I want to say maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And which, if you haven't read it, I do recommend reading it at least once. So it's relatively short. It's not too long and easy to get through. So, but I definitely recommend reading it. Number 3, Never Fallen in Love by the Buzzcocks. Name a book with a character who fell in love with someone they shouldn't have fallen in love with. I'm going to go with Romeo from Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare. Because, yeah, I mean, come on. It's, you know, he freaking died because he fell in love with Juliet. I mean, hey, you know, it's those are the facts, people. Number 4, I Want to Be Sedated by the Ramones. A book that made you want to be sedated. So for me, it was definitely Twilight. The first book, because, you know, I read it back when it first came out. Yeah. Yeah. Number 5, London Calling by The Clash. A book set in London or in which character lives by the river. For me, I decided to go with The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I remember it taking place in London, or pretty much in and around London. Other than that, like, the only other thing that came to my mind was Chris Farley, of course, the actor, the comedic actor. Rest in peace, Chris Farley. He used to play this character called Matt Foley, I believe. He was some kind of, like, inspirational speaker or something. And he would always mention about the fact that something to do with living in a van down by the river. And I don't know, that question, like, brought that image to my mind. And so, number 6, The Passenger by Iggy Pop and the Stooges. A book which a character is a passenger and rides through the city's backside. I decided to go with Sal Paradise from On the Road by Jack Kerouac. Of course, I mean, I guess technically it doesn't really ride through backside of cities. I'm not even sure what that's supposed to mean. Like alleyways or like avoiding freeways or avoiding major highways. I'm not sure, you know, unless, you know, it translates differently in different countries or that's. But I mean, just because of that book, you know, even though I read it a while ago, I do remember the main character, Sal Paradise. He travels a lot in it throughout different cities. So, yeah. Number 7, Teenage Kicks by the Ramones. A book that was best you ever had and makes you want to hold it tight and get teenage kicks right through the next. Wasn't exactly sure about what this meant originally, but then I thought about it and I was like, okay. And so I'm going with Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. So far I've read this twice, and the first time I reread it, which is also the second time I read it, I then eventually reviewed it. This is one that I constantly refer to, like, fall back on anything that has to do with any kind of philosophical insight, or anytime I need some kind of motivational thing or inspirational quote or passage, or I usually refer to this. So, and yeah, I know that's not the case with everyone, but it is for me. And it's another one that I recommend reading at least once. So number 8, Fat Lip by Sum 41. A mainstream book that makes you want to waste your time becoming another casualty of society. For this, I chose Illuminae or Illumina. I don't know. People pronounce it differently. But it's a sci-fi novel, but except it's like it's more of a collection of like emails and instant messages, and schematics, blueprints, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And yeah, it's full of sci-fi awesomeness. I mean, I do recommend reading it, especially if you're into sci-fi, and you know, because I remember before I was reluctant to read it because it's one of those books that is definitely overhyped, and usually I tend to stay away from those kinds of books that are overhyped. But that one is definitely one of the few that, for me, it definitely lived up to the hype. So, yeah, I definitely recommend reading that too. Number 9, SelfEsteem by The Offspring. A book that you struggle through because the more you suffer, the more it shows you really care. For this one, I'm going to go with a recent one I recently read and reviewed. Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. And yeah, I don't know what it was. It's kind of like there's certain parts of it that I definitely liked. Certain philosophical kind of pieces here and there that I liked, but ultimately, I couldn't relate to the characters. But I mean, I still did my best to work through that, and also did my best to work through what I consider to be, I guess, a slow pace. I mean, ultimately it was okay. So, yeah, I don't know. If you want to check out my review of that, I'll provide a link to it. Number 10, Basket Case by Green Day. Green Day was pretty much like the first rock band, like any kind of rock or punk music that I was introduced to when I was a kid. So, well, anyways, Basket Case by Green Day, a book with a character who was a melodramatic fool, neurotic to the bone, no doubt about it. For this one, I could have easily gone with, like, say, Holden Caulfield from Catcher in the Rye, but I decided to go something else. There's a character by the name of Janie from a book titled "This Is Where the World Ends" by Amy Zhang. And I read and reviewed this a while ago. I want to say maybe even over a year ago. It was sometime back when I first started my BookTube channel. It is technically like a typical YA novel, except the way it's written in a much more poetic kind of way, which for me definitely made it stand out a lot more, and also gave it a unique twist. So, I mean, the character for me, Janie, I mean, it's like it revolves around the two main characters, Janie and Micah, and it switches between both of their perspectives. And to me, it just seemed like Janie was ultimately came off as much more neurotic than Micah, though she definitely had good reason for it. But yeah, ultimately, just it's very interesting. Yeah, I don't know if you want to check out my review of that. I'll provide a link to that one too. So, the last thing here, Sheena is a punk rocker by the Ramones. And it's just tag your most punk rock BookTube friends to do this tag. So yeah, I don't really know who's done this or who hasn't. Probably a lot of people have done it. I don't know, I'm just off the top of my head. Alright, I'm gonna say Roya Eve Reads, Idealhoolagain, yeah. Trying to think who else. I don't really know who else. Mindy's Book Journey, I don't know if you've already been tagged by Dane or not, but I guess I'm tagging you again if you've already been tagged. So, yeah. So, and anyone else, if you're watching this and you haven't done it yet, definitely feel free to do it. Yeah. And thanks to Dane once again for tagging me. Definitely appreciate it. And that pretty much does it. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. As always, till next time, don't forget to keep it real, keep on rocking, and peace.